So again, if we haven't met, I'm Jennifer Elliott, and this is yin. And I was trying to decide of what kind of yin this was. You know, I always have a title or some sort of thought. And I actually taught a yin class earlier today, and we weren't allowed to use props. And so we had a couple of blocks. So I kind of feel like this practice is yin with minimal props is kind of my theme for the day, I think. So we'll get started. If you have blocks, great. If not, that's fine, because again, we're going to try to use minimal props today. And let's get started in a reclined butterfly. So you may not need the props under the knees. I really like them because I like to take a little bit of time to really get into the pose. So for me, the props under the knees are great. But again, you may not have that many, so do what you need. And I've got a timer on my phone. If this is new for you to be with me, I use this timer called Insight Timer. And that bell will sound after 5 minutes, which is how long we're going to be in this first pose. So get yourself set up, comfortable. Let the eyes soften and the jaw relax. And just take a few moments to bring your attention into this space. As you're connecting to your body and this shape of butterfly, see if you can allow gravity to take over. So for me, I did this earlier, and so already my hips are getting pretty heavy on these props. So I know that I'm starting to ground and get relaxed. So I'm going to move these props out a little wider. And as the jaw continues to slack and the whole body starts to ground, observe the quality of your breath. And as we learn to become the observer here, you notice how the breath is textured. Is it rough around the edges? Does the breath feel smooth? Does the breath move through the nose and or the mouth? And where are there restrictions, limitations? Does your chest move with the breath, your abdomen? Can you feel even your back body breathing, grounding into the mat beneath? And then start to change your breath to in and out through the nose if it wasn't already. And then begin to take an inhale through the nose. We'll take one long full inhale all the way to the top of the breath. And a long smooth exhale all the way to the bottom of the breath. And then we'll change it. Take an inhale through the nose just a third of the way and stop. Continue to inhale through the nose another third and stop. Inhale the rest and exhale naturally. Inhale a third, belly rises. Inhale a third, sidewards widen. Inhale a third, chest lifts. Exhale naturally. One more together. Inhale a third. Inhale another third. Inhale the rest. Hold to the top if you'd like. Exhale naturally. Take a few recovery breaths, allowing your breath to return to normal. Let's take a full inhale all the way to the top of the lungs. Hold the breath at the top. Exhale through the nose a third of the way. pause. Exhale another third. Pause. Exhale the rest. Take a full inhale. Exhale a third, let the chest drop. Exhale a third, side ribs move in. Exhale the rest, navel drops. One more on your own. Inhale. And break up that exhale into 3 parts. Allow your breath to find its own pattern here. All right, so start to blink the eyes open. Take your hands to your outer knees, guide them together slowly. Pull the knees into your chest. Give yourself a nice hug. Wrap your arms around your knees. Curl the forehead up. Let the shoulders rest. Couple of breaths here. And then lower the head down. We're going to take our legs and drop them to the left side. So I'm going to keep my knees quite close to the chest and then drop them to the left in a nice simple spinal twist. Sometimes the knees fall down low, so slide them up high. And then get your rotation from the upper body. So peel that left shoulder blade out from underneath you. Now, we are doing this with minimal props, but it depends on what you need. If you feel like the low back needs a little bit of TLC, if you have a block or blanket, that can always go in between the thighs. But otherwise, set yourself up as you'd like in this simple spinal twist. And we're going to change, so we'll be here for 2.5 minutes versus that 5. So just take a few moments, get yourself situated so you're comfortable. And we'll be here for the next 2.5 minutes. So arms are up to you. You can place your left hand on your thigh to sort of keep it rooted. You can take your arm out to the side. Just explore for you. And for me today, the neck feels nice being neutral, just looking up. But you might explore looking left or right. And then as you start to close the eyes, drop your attention back down into the body again. And let's continue with some of our pranayama techniques, our breath control techniques. And I really like those because they just start to teach the mind how to stay present and how to begin that journey of mindfulness meditation. And so the breath is going to be in and out through the nose. But this time we'll count the breath. It'll be even ratio, inhale to exhale. So take an inhale through the nose to a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath. Exhale out the nose, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold out on empty. Inhale for 4. Exhale for 4. And just continue that breath on your own. Inhale and exhale. And we're trying to create an evenness of breath and evenness of mind. Continue that breath count on your own. And you may not count it. It may just feel like it's an intuitive rise and fall. We'll be here about another 30 seconds or so. And so with these simple poses, they become more challenging, more intense, or just become a different sensation when we add that time and gravity. So a simple pose may feel completely different after you add a couple of minutes. So slowly bring yourself to center with the knees. We're going to drop the knees to the right, but I think I have more room if I personally turn myself the other way. So I'm going to do that for me. We're going to drop our knees to the right, second side for you. And then same thing. When you drop the knees, don't let them go low. Slide them up like they want to come up to the armpit. Move that shoulder blade out from underneath you. Arms are up to you. We're going to stick with that 2.5 minutes. Kind of a nice happy medium. And this side, I don't know about you, but for me already feels very different. Not as much rotation. And so let's see if we can keep it fairly the same. If you did that breath count on the first side, the Samavritti even ratio, let's keep it on this side. And you know, scientifically, they've proven if you take, I think it's 5.5 counts on an inhale and 5.5 on the exhale, it completely calms your brain. They actually found it with mantras, with Buddhist mantras, and with Catholic mantras. So there's certain ones that they found that creates sort of an even pace of your breath in and out, but they've actually correlated it to scientifically prove how it really calms the brain waves. And so 4 and 4 is just a nice number I like to start with. I don't know about you, but 5.5 sometimes is a little much for my lungs. But if you're ready to move on, maybe start that 5.5 in, or I like to do 5 and a pause, and 5 out and a pause. I'll make this side feel different. Got that same last 30 seconds. All right. Pardon me. Guide your legs back to center, feet on the floor, knees bent. Then you're going to cross your right ankle over your left knee. Figure 4. You could stay here if you'd like, otherwise we're going to reach for that left thigh. Pull it in for thread the needle. If this feels like too much right away, left foot can be on the floor, you can put it in a wall or a couch if you're close, or you can always do this more as like a reclined pigeon if you prefer, cradling that front leg. So take a few options, see which one works for you. We're going to stay with the 2.5 minutes because we're going to split this into 2 parts of this pose. So this will be the first part, thread the needle, or its options. A few moments here to settle in. And I always like to remind you, anytime we do anything with the arms or the hands, we're feeling like we're pulling, we're gripping, oftentimes the jaw just naturally sort of clenches as we have that activity with our hands. So see if you can find a place where the shoulders relax, the jaw slacks, the eyes close. And then just breathe awareness into any area that has sensation in the body. We can think of the prana, the breath techniques that we've been working with. And when we think about the body is really animated by the breath. And so think of those areas that feel stuck or sticky or rigid. Like for me, I feel this in my outer right hip. And so as you close the eyes and you really pinpoint that area that feels a little tense or stuck, can you try to animate that space with your breath? I always like to imagine that I'm inflating that tense area with the breath. The tissues are expanding. they're floating, they're separating. And so try to create that animation with your breath. And even if you don't know what that means, a good visualization always helps. You can imagine you're sort of expanding a balloon. Now, this is our pose, but if you need to make changes like straightening the left leg or lowering it down if you chose that reclined pigeon, these are also nice options. It was a fast 2.5 minutes. So if you made changes, come back to that original thread the needle. And then you're going to keep your legs exactly as they are, arms out to the sides, and then take your whole leg unit and drop it to the left. So combine your twist and thread the needle. And I like to hold on to my foot with my left hand and slide that foot up the leg a little bit. And then press that thigh open, possibly with the left hand. You can stay or reach the right arm behind you, which is a nice way to get a little bit more into the right side body. So do what you'd like. If none of these are for your back, you can just stay with thread the needle or do another version of a twist. But we're going to stay with that 2.5 minutes. Let's see if that sticky region has changed. For me now, it's more sort of on the top of the hip and the front of that hip crease. So just imagine expanding, creating space. At the very least, allowing yourself to relax. Oftentimes our muscles are protecting us. They're used to being under stress or in protection mode. So even when we're trying to relax, they feel they're doing their good job by protecting us and being tight. And so we have to give them permission to release, to let them know we're safe, we're comfortable, we're relaxed. And their job now is to let go. If I wasn't teaching, I might consider an eye pillow, because I notice for me, having lights, my eyes tend to want to open and become distracted by sort of my environment. So if you have the opportunity, feel free to add that eye pillow or blanket or something over the eyes. It's helping you become much more in tune with what's happening in your body on your mat. All right, come back to center slowly. Set your feet down onto the ground, and we'll do those two on the other side. So crossing left ankle over the right knee. You can stay here, or reach for that right thigh for thread the needle. Or you may have taken an alternative version of this. I was thinking about the Yoga Sutras today, sort of the philosophy of yoga. And I want to say it's chapter 3. There's 4 chapters, 4 books if you're not. That's not something you've read yet. And they talk about the superpowers that you'll get when you really start to get into yoga and focus the mind, which I always thought was really funny. But the way I personally interpret these superpowers that you get is I think of it like an athlete. Think of when an athlete sort of has that tunnel vision and they can move everything out and they just see clearly what it is that they're looking at, what they want to do. And sort of they can jump higher and run faster and consume oxygen much more efficiently. And so that's how I really find that when we train our body, we train our mind through our yoga practice. We sort of heighten those natural qualities that we have. Maybe straighten the right leg or make those other changes. And so feel free to hone your superpowers. Let the mind find the breath, find the sensation in the body. Really train yourself to become the observer. And the last couple of breaths. Again, if you had made any adjustments, you're going to want to bring yourself back to your thread the needle sort of proper. And keep your legs as they are. Open your arms. Drop your whole leg unit to the right side. Take a few moments here. Get yourself set up. Open up that top thigh if you'd like. Maybe left arm reaching back. Or stay and thread the needle or do your own version of a twist if that was better for you. We're going to stay with those 2.5 minutes last time. We're going to increase our time after this. One of the ways that we can sort of hone in, we can attune our superpowers, is that act of paying attention. We pay attention on purpose. So we've started first with the breath. We noticed sensation. But see now if you can notice sound. So notice the sound of my voice. Notice the sound inside my house, inside your house, outside of our houses. So really just start to layer sound. What's closer, what's further? Do you hear it all in the right ear or the left? So if you can really start to tune into sound versus tuning it out. About 4 more breaths. Slowly unwind. Take your time. And then we're gonna roll out of our pose. So I like to roll to the right, just sort of moving slow. We've been there a little while. And then we're gonna move into our lunges. So again, no props necessary. I just happen to have these, so I'm gonna grab them. So some of you I know may want a little padding for your knee. And then just because I have them, I'm gonna grab my blocks, but they're not necessary. All right, so we're gonna be here for 4 minutes in a sort of dragon series. And if this is not for you, you can take a supported bridge or a lunge that might work for you to get into the front hip. So let me just increase our time first and then I'll give us our pose. Okay, so 4 minutes on the clock. And we'll start with our lunge. So you could put your foot in the center. I like to put both hands on the inside of the lunge. That just works better for me. And about every minute in, each minute of the 4 minutes, I'll give you some options. But just to kind of go through those ahead of time while you're getting yourself set up. You might stay as you are on palms or forearms. At any time, you might tip the right leg out and turn towards the bent knee. And then usually towards the end for me, you might reach for the back ankle. So you've got 4 minutes to possibly do those things, but not necessary. And look at that, we're nearly already a minute in already. So the goal is to distract you with my monologues. So turn the leg out to the side if you want. Again, we're about a minute in, so this is just an option. Maybe you drop down lower. But again, these poses, they change with time. So you may feel like you don't want to move at all from that beginning variation of the lunge and just really see if you can commit to the stillness there. Okay, we're halfway through. We're about 2 minutes in, so adjust if you want. And you may have realized you went too deep too fast. This adjusting for you might be backing off some. How do you tell if you went too deep? Is your jaw clenching? Are you holding your breath? Are you fidgety? So find a place where you're not fidgeting. You can just commit to that stillness. We're coming up on our last minute, our last 60 seconds. Don't ever let anyone tell you yin yoga is easy. It can definitely be intense. Only 5 breaths left, or about 30 seconds. Okay, so gently release. And we're gonna stay on this front leg. We're gonna move into pigeon or swan. So I'm going to bring that right leg forward in front. I'm going to come down onto the forearms, or you may decide to add or not add props. Again, we're doing this today with little props. And I'm going to bring this, I'm going to keep us at 4 minutes just because I think it's nice to add a little time. While you're getting settled in, I'll give some options because pigeon is not for everyone and it may not be for both sides. So pigeon, if it works, great. Add props under the hip or back leg if that is more successful for you. And if it's not for you, you might take deer. So deer, I've got one leg that looks like pigeon, the other leg that looks more like a reclining hero. You could sit up tall or fold forward. And so this might be a little bit more achievable if you have any sensitivity in the knee or you just want to try something new. So we're about a minute in of our 4. If we went too deep too fast, feel free to back off. For me, my shoulders get a little tense. So 2 options if you have blocks or if you don't but want to explore. You can set your triceps on those props. Walk them forward and let your forehead hang. Or you can tie it up, elbow in front of elbow. Walk those arms across. You can let the head hang either in space or on your prop. So again, just options. We're coming up on halfway through this pose, 2 minutes. And as the holds get longer, as we sort of move more through our practice, I'll give hopefully more longer periods of silence so that you can really tap into that meditative mind. Use your breath to create space. And as we approach our final minute, again, you can stay as you are, or if you reach for the back ankle on the last pose, you might take your final minute and do some similar sort of reaching for the back ankle coming up in your swan. At our last 5 breaths. If you come out early, just enjoy a rest. All right, how'd we do? So slowly back out and then take a rebound pose for you. So that's personal to you. You could just sit on your feet. You could take child's pose or down dog, whatever you'd like. I'm gonna shift so I'm facing the other way in my pose. We'll set up that whole series again in a moment on the left side. And you may notice a lot of warmth and heat on that whole right side now. So let's move into the left as you're ready. Again, we're here 4 minutes for each pose. So 4 minutes for this dragon series and 4 minutes in that pigeon pose. And sides are different, so just do what you need. So when I like to think of deepening my superpowers, and I like to think about those philosophies of the sutras, you can think about what are the senses, and you can try to think about heightening those. So you can think about the breath. It's not really a sense, but I like to use it as a place to sort of land my attention. I like to think of touch, so you can feel, what does it feel like, sort of the air against your skin against the earth. Maybe you're tapping into what you hear, what you see, either externally or internally. You might notice sort of what you smell or feel, how the breath goes across the nasal passages. Or even how you may notice the tip of the tongue, taste on the tongue. We're coming up shortly on 2 minutes in, about halfway through this pose, if you want to make any changes. When we're at home, it can be very easy to become distracted. And so what I like about the timer and the poses is we just sort of commit. We just commit to small parts of time. I can commit to 4 minutes. I can commit to 30 seconds. And before you know it, you've committed to a whole hour. So you just sort of take small bites. And just recommit each time you come back to a pose. All right, we're coming up on that last minute. How we doing? We can commit those last 5 breaths, 30 seconds. All right, not so bad, right? So slowly come out. Take your time moving to pigeon or your alternative. You can do deer. You can find other poses, so don't get sort of trapped into one idea of where this pose needs to be or go. You can make changes for you. We are going to stay here 4 minutes. So whatever pose you chose, if it's not this version of pigeon, just choose something that you can try to commit to that stillness in. You can always add the arms. The last minute you might add that leg. Notice what you experience. If it's dull and achy or just agitating, frustrating, that's fine. You can work with that. You can back off or you can just break through it. If it's sharp, shooting, tingling, pain, if it's going numb, falling asleep, then you want to back out. But otherwise, see if you can even just sit with being uncomfortable. You sit with that feeling of being uncomfortable. Oftentimes that feeling goes away more quickly than you think because you're not resisting, you're sort of observing. We're more than halfway through this pose. And as we approach this final minute, some of you reached for that back ankle. That's just an option if you want it. Five breaths left. All right, we did it. So let's slowly unwind. Do your rebound. Everybody had a different pose they maybe moved through earlier. And then I'm going to take my blanket. Blanket not necessary, but I find it really helpful. Put that behind me. If you have a wall and you want to do legs up the wall and split, that's always nice. Otherwise, I'm going to take the legs out to the sides. If straight legs feels like a lot, on inner knees, you can do butterfly, you can do malasana variations, anything that's going to get into the inner thighs. For me, by this point, I usually like straight legs because we've done so many bent. Now, this will be our longest pose, so we're increasing it. I guess the first pose is similar, so we'll be here 5 minutes. And so we've been progressively adding to our time. And so find your way into your split leg stretch or inner thigh stretch. And then see what's getting your attention the most. Where does your mind want to be? Do you tend to notice the sensation, the breath, the thought? And then whatever it is, just commit to that as well. See if you can use that as your meditation. So if you like the breath, maybe count the breath like you're counting sheep. Or if you like sensation, let your mind sort of follow. Oh, I feel it on the inner thigh, on the outer hip. Let your mind just sort of go where the sensation does. And if it's your mind that just keeps rambling on like I do, notice what type of thoughts you're having. Create that separation, label them if you need. But then you might also change them, prakti pakshabhavanam. So if you're having a negative thought or negative self-chatter or things that just repeat and they're not sort of the thoughts you want to have, immediately replace them with the thought you do want to have. Sort of fake it till you make it. We're already 90 seconds in. We're already moving towards 3 minutes, so good job. Commit to your meditation technique. Well, meditation doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you're practicing, you're trying, and so bring your attention to whatever you've committed to. Your mind wanders, no big deal. You bring it back, whatever that thing was. And we'll be here for the next little over 2.5 minutes. Commit to your meditation. Ninety seconds left. All right, how'd you do? We'll start winding out of these. So slowly bring yourself out of your pose. I like to manually draw the legs back. Whew, give them a little bit of a moment. And then we're gonna find your way onto our back. If you have a strap, grab it, but again, not necessary. This is about fewer props. And we're gonna end with what I call final stretch. So nice sort of movement in the legs. I'm gonna do about 2 minutes each. And I'm gonna give my neck a break and move my hair tie here. Okay, so come to your back, and if you have a strap, slide it over the right foot any way you like. This might be a towel or a tie. We're gonna be here for about 2 minutes each pose. I don't always do the timer. So if you happen to have a strap that loops, you might enjoy looping it in a way that you don't have to hold it the whole time. Let's say you don't have a strap. Let's say you are not interested in being on your back or holding the leg for that amount of time. Then you can sit upright and forward fold over the leg. We're just getting into the hamstrings. So something like Janu Shirsasana is a nice alternative if that makes more sense for you. If you have sciatic issues, then this might be a little bit nicer on your back than the seated forward fold version. And by the way, I just realized I completely match my strap and my pants, like exact stripy colors and everything. I'm accessorized. And we're going to move out to the right. So we're stretching the inner thigh. Now I happen to have a block here. You can have a bolster or a blanket. But one of my favorite ways to do this, honestly, and you may find this easy because you may have limited space in your house, is if there's a couch or a wall next to you, it might be really nice to place your foot on that wall, on the couch. You can do butterfly if you're sitting upright, or leg split if you're at the wall. So lots of options. A few of you might toe lock. And your last couple breaths. All right, so bring yourself to center. All right, there you go. And then cross the leg over for a twist. So any version of a twist if this isn't for you. I happen to have the wall, so I'm going to use it. As I just claimed, I love when I can use a wall. So I'm going to leave the strap there just for laziness sake, but my foot is resting on the wall. So any version of this twist you'd like. We're staying with these 2 minutes. We're sort of winding down. We sort of wound up with longer holds. Now we're winding down. Not as long of holds. I like another reason I like yin, or another way you can think about it is I feel like we're really sort of allowing ourselves to be patient, being able to work through, like I said earlier, those things that might be uncomfortable. We can all think of things that we've been through that have not seemed great at the moment, but later something really wonderful may have come out of it, like a person that we met or a discovery we made or something we let go of. But it's only through that time that we tell. And so when we spend time in these poses, we teach ourselves patience and not needing that instant gratification. And also the reminder that things that can be uncomfortable or bitter may eventually be sweet, like that true nectar. All right. So bring yourself to center. We'll finish our practice with side two. So strap over the left foot or whatever you've decided to stretch your hamstrings. If you have the loop on your strap, one of my favorite options is the head hammock. So it's not on your neck, but it's more at the base of your skull. You can sort of lift it up a little bit higher. And when in doubt, just skip it, but this is just a nice option. I've got a good stretch in my hamstrings, but I've got some nice traction on my neck as well. We've got about a minute left. All right. If you have the head hammock on, very slowly take it off. And then open to the left. You can use a prop. Here's my handy wall, so I would use that. I don't even need my strap or anything that's stretching the inner thigh. About a minute left. Let's finish our practice. Bring the leg up, cross it over. We'll take our final twist. We've got about 1 minute left. We'll call it 10 relaxed breaths. All right, we made it. Bring the leg up. Pull the knees into your chest to get a finishing pose you'd like. So it might just be a simple Apanasana or happy baby. And then we'll get ourselves set up in our Shavasana. So you can do legs at the wall. You can do sort of a traditional starfish Shavasana. But since I happen to have these props with me, I am going to use them for my setup. And we'll do about 3 minutes. So I'll use the timer for our Shavasana, just so that we're not concerned about time. Okay. Go ahead and get yourself set up however you'd like to be, just so that you can really feel the benefits of your practice. Return to the beginning, relaxing the jaw, softening the eyes. Really taking this time to soak in, to drink in the benefits of your practice. Start to move fingers and toes. Reach your arms overhead, maybe yawn. Bend your knees, make your way onto your right. And as you're ready, slowly rest yourself upright. Draw your hands to your heart in gratitude for the time and effort you've put into you today. Lift your heart, bow your head. Namaste.